Hello, kia ora. I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining me for our Friday weather update recorded on the 29th of August, taking a look at the final weekend of winter on the meteorological calendar and how spring is starting off next week. Let's have a look at the current satellite map. Certainly a lot of energy at the moment. Plenty of thunderstorms out at sea, squally showers, windy conditions here and there. But because we are going into this windy westerly flow over the next week at least, everything moves quickly. So even if you do have one of these thundery downpours, give it a few minutes and more than likely the sun will be back out again. So we've got a lot of changeable weather moving through. This is only just starting, and this is the polar change coming through for the South Island. You can see the southerly coming through in the south here. In the north, west to northwest winds are blowing, and so most places are fairly mild today. You might not have had to have the heaters on this morning. Let's have a look at the wind energy map going into tonight. So low pressure is the main feature here on the map. This low out to the southeast, that was north of New Zealand a few days ago, pulled down and now being absorbed with all of this other low pressure. The one that's in Tasmania is the one creating the wintry southerly for them. They've got a burst of severe weather in Australia's southeast today. And guess what? That weather here is coming towards us by Sunday. So let's try and break it all down for you. This is tonight's 6 o'clock update. You can see the polar airflow coming into the North Island. So more of those heavy showers, some with thunderstorms here and there, maybe some hail as well. And even if you don't get that, just the chance of a heavy downpour. As the colder change comes in, obviously the wind direction is going to change as well. So we've got a westerly flow. Now these are gale force winds in exposed areas, especially around the hills and ranges that lean towards the east, and also around Auckland, which is a particular wind tunnel for a west to southwest flow. Then it turns more south to southwesterly, southerlies around Wellington, snow flurries in the mountains, and a colder change coming through for those of you around Southland, Otago, and over on Westland. Now around Westland, plenty of showers and rain carry on through. Now these are not necessarily frost maps. I know it says frost, but it means below zero. So you've just seen all that wind coming through. So a lot of these areas that you see in the purple may not technically get a frost, depends on how calm it is where you are, but below zero is certainly possible with this winter weather coming through. So that's important for farmers more than anyone else. Lunchtime Saturday. Okay, so in the North Island, the blue lines drop southwards again. So it comes up quickly tonight, and then by tomorrow morning, by lunchtime, it's already pushing back down. That's because we're getting a northwesterly flow returning to the North Island. That means still a few showers, possibly heavy, but larger, longer, dry spells. If you're in the east, should be a sunny day and mild as well with that airflow coming through. Spring-like in many parts of the North Island and potentially the top of the South Island. I say potentially because it just does depend on how quickly that goes southwards. But you notice how the polar flow has this dip here around Canterbury. That's a sign of that west to northwesterly blowing through, helping to warm things up in eastern areas. Still cold in the south, but really for this time of the year, it's actually not that bad. Sunday's when we see the next burst of severe weather moving into the North Island in particular. So South Island is not a great deal of change. It's still a bit cold. You've still got a southerly or southwesterly flow around, certainly some showers. But into the North Island, you've got this chance of damaging winds around northern areas and for a time in the east, along with heavy showers, some thunderstorms, and then later on, a dusting of snow comes in, Mount Taranaki over to the Central Plateau, and maybe the southern ranges as well of the North Island. Still some snow flurries in the South Island, but it won't add up to very much. So let's jump to that wind map. Now I've got a bit of good news for you, although this could still change in the next 48 hours, but compared to the previous days, the severity of the wind coming through on Sunday has dropped down just a notch. And so that means we're not seeing quite so much widespread wind around the place. But like I say, this could still change. But this is showing a very windy wind tunnel area around Auckland for southwesterlies. So we do expect some power cuts around the Auckland, Northland regions, perhaps going into other parts around Waikato, Coromandel Peninsula into Western Bay of Plenty, and also around Mount Taranaki. Very strong winds in the purple shading there coming off the Tasman and around the Kaimai Coromandel ranges, Mount Taranaki, 90, 100, maybe even 130, 140 k's an hour in the more very exposed parts, Manukau Heads, for example, around Auckland. So that's going to surge in. Now, a lot of these strong winds that are surging in are going to be associated with downpours and thunderstorms, and there may well be sunny spells around it as well. So got a few things going on. Maybe not so many sunny spells after 6 p.m, of course. Let's have a look at lunchtime Monday. High pressure nearby. This is a bit of a change to where we've been over the last couple of months with our weather pattern. So as a weather forecaster, I look for, when spring arrives, we look for windy westerlies showing up, which we've got a heck of a lot of at the moment coming in. So why do we get that? Because high pressure is north of New Zealand, low pressure is south of us, the squash zone smack bang in the middle. New Zealand smack bang between high pressure and low pressure to the south. And so windy weather carries on into next week, still seeing gale force winds here and there. You're still seeing the nor'west arch or the nor'wester westerly winds in Canterbury helping to warm things up a little bit more for you. But the wintry stuff stays over on the west coast, Southland, Otago, Fiordland. In the North Island, spring-like windy westerlies blowing through, a few showers in the west, not as many as there have been in large, long, dry areas coming through. So still windy on Monday, the areas in purple, so the lower half of the North Island, more exposed to those damaging wind gusts coming over into places like Hawke's Bay, Waiata Upper, even around Western Bay of Plenty coming over the Kaimai Ranges could be some strong winds, and around parts of the South Island. It depends on where you are. Blustery winds or blustery conditions getting up to gale force, and in the areas in purple, severe gales. So that is Monday afternoon. Noon Tuesday, not a great deal of change. Again, the South Island's more wintry, the North Island's more spring-like, high pressure to the north of us, low pressure to the south of us, squash zone in the middle, windy around Wellington, severe gales still hanging around some parts of New Zealand, and snow flurries on the mountains, lower temperatures in Southland and Otago, but again, like for this time of the year, it's not that bad, because even though it's a southerly, track the origins of it, it's coming out of near Australia, it's not coming from down near Antarctica. Last wind map that we've got here is noon Tuesday, showing a couple of things. Number one, windy nor'westers around the North Island, central New Zealand, some damaging severe gales around the ranges. And then as you look down towards Canterbury, up comes a very strong southerly, also in that sort of gale force to maybe severe gale, which is 90 k's an hour and more, gusting as it moves into Banks Peninsula. So southerly comes up on Tuesday. That will help to change things around the North Island as well. So by Wednesday, finally a little bit of a break, high pressure around the north and around Australia. So when I said before, when we're looking for a spring weather pattern, that is it. High pressure north of the country, big storms south of us, and in the middle, the windy westerlies snaking along the planet. And every now and then when they lift up as a sou'wester, we get a cold change. When it comes in as a nor'wester, our temperatures go up. And so that's what we're seeing, up and down. Nor'westers lifting temperatures up, sou'westers making it feel wintry again. The polar airflow does dip further southwards, and you've got nor'westers in the lower South Island, so it doesn't look too bad on Wednesday, and mostly dry. Thursday, however, more spring weather. Severe gales return to central New Zealand, mostly in the mountain areas and through Cook Strait. Showers in the west, some heavy, some with thunder. It's the same pattern all over again. And northern and eastern areas, once more, look to be the driest. And 1 week from today, not a great deal of change. So we're going into spring with typical spring weather. And if you don't believe spring starts on the 1st, that is absolutely fine. You've got the astronomical date 3 weeks from now. Either way, we're still going to be seeing the same setup, which is feeling more spring-like, especially around the North Island and the top of the South Island. Still getting wintry weather coming through, even next Friday. The lower part of the South Island, under that polar airflow for another week to come yet. All right, before I go, the 7-day rainfall, looking classic textbook, what you learn at geography at high school. Orographic rain, where it falls on the western side of the mountains, dries out on the eastern side. So in the east, where you see blues and purples, bottom of the scale here, less than 20 millimetres, and in fact, a number of areas like Hawke's Bay, parts of Marlborough may not see very much at all. Jump over to the west coast, down around Fiordland, where you would expect it to be pouring with rain. That's where you're getting up over 200 millimetres. And in the western side of the North Island, 60, 70, maybe 80 millimetres here and there as those heavy showers come on through. Plenty to talk about. So that is all from me for the month of August. I'll see you again on Monday, the 1st of September. We will also have our next Climate Watch update where we take a look at the month of September, those highs and lows. Will we see a change in that long term? We'll have a closer look at that on Monday. Have yourselves a great weekend.